Darrow, and I'm here to guide you along to help you understand and break down ICD-10-CM coding. Now, by now you should have received three or four coding manuals, depending if you're enrolled in the 9-month or the 12-month program. And all of you should have received an ICD-10-CM coding manual. Now you'll recognize the manual because it is the thickest out of all four. It has a spiral binding. So let's go ahead and rip the cellophane from it. Let's take a look inside. So I want you to open your manual and look at your table of contents. It's just a few pages in, and we will find from this table of contents that there are 4 specific separate tables and indices in your coding manual. The first one is the ICD-10-CM Volume 2 Alphabetic Index to Diseases and Injuries. Number 2 is the ICD-10-CM Table of Neoplasms. Number 3 is the ICD-10-CM Index to External Injuries. And the last one is the ICD-10-CM Volume 1 Tabular List of Diseases and Injuries. So for the purposes of this video, we're only looking at the alphabetic index. So on my table of contents, it shows the alphabetic index starts on page 43. Depending on the publisher that you have and the version you have, it could be slightly different, but in mine it's page 43. So let's open there together. And if you don't have your coding manual available, please watch this video again when you do. It'll be really helpful for you to use your coding manual along with this video. So what is the alphabetic index? The alphabetic index is really key to assigning accurate ICD-10-CM diagnosis. So we'll see that the alphabetic index, it is what it says. It's managed alphabetically, A to Z. So it's easier for us to find what we're looking for. So let's take a look at it directly. You'll notice that there are 3 columns across the page. And if you flip through, you'll notice that this alphabetic index goes on for pages and pages and pages. Couple hundred pages, in fact. So every page is designed the same way. There are 3 columns. And so it goes down the first column, and at the very bottom, it links all the way back to the top with the second column, and again go through the entire column, and then goes up to the 3rd column and finishes at the end of the page. And then you turn the page again. You'll also notice on the right side, there is a range of words that are included on this page, and they change from time to time if you look through. Like, for example, diabetes has its own page, but if I keep looking, dislocation goes to disorder. So it really is done alphabetically. There are, the way this is formatted is main terms are capitalized and in bold. You'll see these listed accordingly. The subterms are indented to the first yellow line. You should see 2 yellow lines for every column. So the subterms is to the first yellow line, and the subterms are indented to the second yellow line. And we'll learn more about those and how those are useful. So what are main terms and subterms? Main terms are diseases and/or conditions taken from the diagnostic statement. The diagnostic statement is basically the documentation that states what needs to be coded. This excludes symptoms, and there's a separate video on the difference between diagnosis and symptoms so that you're able to identify both of them. We only code for diagnosis. We do not code for symptoms. So take a look at that video when you have a moment. Subterms are listed under the main term. So it's the first yellow indent. It further defines the main term. For example, it gives body part, common conditions, or circumstances that the subterm further defines the main term. And we can take a look at that as well as we go on. So let's give it a try. Dermatitis due to an allergy to dyes. Okay, So what is the main term in this case? We have a couple of options. It could be dermatitis, it could be allergy, it could be dyes. But in this case, we're looking for the main condition. In this case, it's dermatitis. So let's look it up in our alphabetic index. Again, we can use the side definitions of what word ranges are used and look up dermatitis, D-E-R-M. I'll give you a chance. There are many words that look similar. So, for example, there's dermatitis, there's dermatosis, so you have to make sure you have the right spelling, which shows it's very important to have the correct spelling when we are coding. Okay, so I found dermatitis, the beginning of the main term, which is capitalized and also in bold. Now I have, it's due to an allergy to dyes. So if I scroll down, I'm looking for a subterm, which could be allergy, okay? Or it could be due to, actually, is another one. So if I scroll down, I notice there is a due to, okay, in the third column for me. If I scroll down a little bit more, then I can find dyes, okay? And right underneath a subterm, I have here, what is the main term, which is dermatitis. The subterm is due to. The subterm is the dyes, which the subterm is there to provide additional details. Allergic. So what is the code listed? I have here L23.4. Okay. So let's try another one. Newborn hepatitis. So in this case, what is the main term? It could be newborn, it could be hepatitis. Most likely it's hepatitis because this is the condition. So let's take a look. Let's use our alphabetic index to find hepatitis. Let's see. I'm looking it up with you so that the video isn't super rushed. Let's see. Hepatitis. Okay, I found hepatitis, so I go to the beginning. It's on the third column for me. And I'm looking for newborn. Okay, so that would be my subterm. And I found newborn. Okay, I found newborn. And this is the code, P59.29. All right. So let's try this one. This will be an interesting one. 39-week pregnant woman is discharged from the ER with Braxton Hicks contractions. So what's the diagnosis here? Is it the 39-week-old or week pregnant woman? Probably not. It's not the ER. So it must be Braxton Hicks. So she's having Braxton Hicks contractions. So let's take a look. Braxton Hicks. Remember, spelling is very important. So I have it here, Braxton Hicks. And notice there's a dash and it says C false comma labor. So I'm not going to find my code here. It tells me to go somewhere else in the alphabetic index. So what would be my main term? My main term would be false because it's listed first. So I'm going to look up false. I hope you're coming with me, and if you need to pause the video at any time, you go ahead and do that. So we're looking at false. Make sure the spelling is correct. Okay, so I have false here. And for the subterm, my subterm would be labor. So I have it here. But I have additional information in my diagnosis statement. It mentions that she's 39 weeks pregnant. Okay. So what would be the subterm? It would be at or after 39 weeks completed, weeks of gestation. So what would be my code? O47.1. So once you get the hang of it, you'll find that it's quite easy. But practice always makes perfect. So now you found the code, now what? Now this is really, really important. We can never assign a code directly from the alphabetic index, ever, ever, ever. We do need to look up the code in the tabular list. We will have a separate video for that. So the tabular list provides coding guidelines to assign the code accurately. So we don't want to take it for face value. This is a starting point. But we will look at that in the next video. So video in review. Try coding these on your own using your alphabetic index. You can press pause here on your video and look up the codes for these. Choose one of these codes and post them in the Module 1 discussion for 1 additional posting credit. And the last question to review this video, can a diagnosis be coded directly from the alphabetic index? The answer is an absolute no. Even if the code is the same in the tabular list, we still need to look in the tabular list because the tabular list, you'll find, provides you the coding guidelines in order to code accurately. Thank you so much for watching this video.